Hey guys, Zach here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Lost World Jurassic Park Basic Velociraptor, Slashing Velociraptor, whatever you want to call it. This is basically the male Tiger Raptor from the Lost World Jurassic Park, and this is actually a repaint of an existing figure. This is actually a repaint of the original 1993 Jurassic Park Raptor, and as you can see here, there are pretty big differences. I'm just going to put him into focus more in the center. There is a pretty big difference, but the paint is somewhat similar. They're both kind of a brownish color, and they both have like black stripings going along. The thing with this figure is that this figure kind of has like a white underbelly, while this figure doesn't. And also, these figures both have green eyes, but they're different shades of green, so yeah. And other than that, there's not a lot in terms of paint differences here. Well, there is a lot, but yeah, well, it's pretty obvious here, so yeah, just here's the side. There's the front. And yeah, so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it for that. And speaking of the painting on this figure, it's very nice. It's not one-to-one with how it looked in the Lost World, and to be fair, I would have preferred a more, accurate raptor here, but the painting here is still very nice. So, starting off with the head, we can see that this is more of a brownish orangish color, which is somewhat accurate. The eyes are painted green, and something that's interesting, there are different versions of this figure where, yeah, there are some with green eyes, but there are also some with yellow eyes. I think that the one with green eyes is a lot more rare than the one with the yellow eyes, but then again, I could be wrong. But yeah, that's something I actually really like about the Lost World toy line. Like, with certain figures, there are a lot of differences in terms of the paint. Like, for example, the Parasaurolophus, there's one where it has like a brighter shade of red on the back of its head, but there's another one where it's a darker shade of red. And I kind of like that. It's not really like advertised on the box or anything like that. It's just this thing that like you kind of have to look out for. But yeah, anyway, the eyes are green. The teeth are painted white with a pinkish tongue. And the roof of the mouth is painted the same color. The underside of the neck here is blue for some reason. However, the underside here is white. The toenails are painted black, as well as the two sickled claws right here, as well as the claws here. On the side here, we have Site B, JP06, and we have some black on top of the figure here. And that about does it for the painting on this figure. And the painting on this figure, pretty good. Not perfect, but still very good for a Kenner figure, so the paint gets a pass. Now take a look at the articulation, and the articulation on this figure is pretty basic. The arms can move backwards, not much, but they can move forward that much. The legs can move backwards about that much, and then forwards this much. This isn't really intentional, but the tail can twist. And I actually kind of like how that looks, but that's just me. But yeah, the tail can twist 360. And if you squeeze the legs together, you can have kind of like an attacking motion, which is cool, and it actually works a lot better than the original one. So, yeah. Mine at least doesn't work well at all. However, this one works really nice. So, yeah. And that about does it for the articulation on this figure. The articulation on this figure is basic, so it gets a pass. Now take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpt on this figure is the same as the Kenner figure. However, in my original review, I didn't really go into too much detail, so I'm going to talk about it here. And the sculpting on this figure is actually very nice. And it actually kind of reminds me of a lot of the Stan Winston models for the Raptor from Jurassic Park. There are some minor things that are kind of off. The teeth look a little not great, but other than that, the sculpt here, it's basically a Jurassic Park Raptor, and honestly, that's all it needs to be. The feet might be a little bit too small, but other than that, everything here still looks very nice. So, the sculpt on this figure gets a pass. Now take a look at the detailing, and the detailing on this figure, again, is really nice. So, taking a look at the head, we have some scaling all over the face and a lot of creases that look decent. Not great, but decent. And that detailing continues all the way through the body. It stops right here around the leg. I understand why they did that, but again, it just kind of stops there, but yeah. But that continues. The arms are detailed very nicely, All the creases and folds and whatnot look really nice. And the detailing on the legs is very nice as well. The feet are a little lacking, but still look nice nonetheless. And moving on to the tail here, the creases here look very nice. There are some seams on this figure, like on the legs right there, but that's mainly for the feature. And on the back of the head, yeah, that's kind of there, and that doesn't really look great. But yeah, on the underside there are screw holes, but that's actually okay because it's on the underside and it's not really on the side of the figure, Hasbro. But yeah, so thankfully the screw holes aren't on the side of the figure, Jack specific. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. Not terrible, but still pretty good. So the detailing gets a pass. So at the end of the day, should you get this? There are different Raptor figures for the Lost World. There's an electronic Raptor that I thought about getting, but I kind of thought it was too big and it looked a little too fat for my likings. And then there's the Cyclops Raptor, which again looked good, but I kind of decided against it. This I feel like is a good figure, and I feel like it's a pretty good excuse to pick up another version of the original Jurassic Park Raptor. So yeah. And this figure itself you can find for fairly cheap online. You could either find it for about like 10 to 14 bucks, like loose, which really isn't bad. This figure does come with capture gear, however, I didn't get mine, with the figure, so yeah, I just ordered just the figure. So if you can get this figure with its capture gear, and if you can even find it in box, then definitely go for it. This is definitely a pretty good figure. So yeah, actually, this is actually one of my favorite Raptor figures out of any of the Jurassic Park toy lines, but yeah. Anyway, if you want to know how big he is, here he is next to Dr. Billy Grant. And they're not one-to-one in terms of scaling, so yeah, that's why, the Kenner figures, like the Kenner human figures scale up a lot better, but this still looks okay as well, but yeah. Anyway, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zach out.